Hello everyone, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on May the 23rd, 2016. And, this Raw mainly focused around the Money in the Bank ladder match. So I'll get to that as my last little snippet of everything, of where they're going with everything here. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with everything else throughout the night. First of all, they decided to use the New Day, not in terms of any kind of storyline build-up or anything. They just used them in basically a comedy segment for, glossing over the fact that it was the 1200th episode of Monday Night Raw. They had the birthday cake out there and everything, trying to say happy birthday for Raw and everything like that. Not a horrible promo, but not really much of a usage for the actual for the New Day in any way, shape, or form. They got attacked by the Social Outcasts. They win a quick match, and then they slam Heath Slater through the cake. Typical WWE fashion: if there's cake on the screen, someone's face is going into it, and you always know that's going to happen. I would just like it one time. It's like you want to see someone really go through, get their face shoved into the cake, and then nothing happens. It would be just a nice little twist to go about that at some point in time. But in the end, not a horrible segment, but nothing really good comes out of that to begin with. The other aspects of the night. Well, the one with Charlotte. This was an interesting one. The bit with Charlotte. She was going to come out there and do a state of the women's division or women's championship address, and she's doing a pretty good job of capturing some heel heat now. And she did it the week before, not so much with the fact that she was in a hometown area, but she was able to get a little bit of heel heat. Tonight she used her ability to go after her father and basically tell Ric Flair off. Like, this is their way of writing Ric Flair off. In every sense of the word, like going through her childhood and everything like that, and berating as much as possible Ric Flair down throughout the entire thing, to the point that when after he exits the ring area, and then they do another segment backstage where he's exiting the building, it's like you have Renee Young. It's like, you didn't have a chance to respond out there. Is there any words you would like to say? It's like. And usually Ric Flair's that type to always want to say something. It's like, not this time, and just out the door. Kind of just solidifies like how heartbroken he was in this sense. That she's basically just like, I don't need you, go away. Just go away, don't want you around. And it was almost like Charlotte's trying to get a little bit of payback for how much time he spent on the road when she was a child and everything like that. The only thing they really didn't explain was Dana Brooke and why. She's like, the night before, it made no sense for Dana Brooke to go out there. Yeah, they don't really explain much of anything here. But overall, the segment, I would say, probably went a little bit too long. The promo went a little bit too long, but overall, not a bad segment. I thought it was actually pretty good, pretty powerful with what they were going for there, and I thought they did a relatively good job with that particular segment. Now it's just going to be who is Charlotte's next opponent, which is where they could put their focus on next. So we'll see where they go with everything there. But overall, that segment was very, very powerful for what they were trying to do with the Charlotte character. Big Cass came out. And like it got to the point, it's like when Big Cass came out at the night, it was like smaller cheers than normal, and then he points and Enzo comes out. It's like, yeah, Enzo's back. For most of the fans in there, they cut a decent promo in there. I like how Enzo brought back in the how many times he gets knocked down. How many times he would have it, but he didn't get back up every time he gets knocked down. I like that line from him. It just suits the character so much better. Just in that aspect. And then Big Cass had a match with Bubba Ray. so they basically got to the point that they're not going to put Enzo necessarily in a match, but he can still bump right now because he gets thrown into Devon. He takes a bump from Devon on the outside, so they're kind of slowly bringing him back in with just like a couple bumps here and there, nothing too crazy. The match itself was kind of meh. Like most matches, honestly, today they're kind of meh. Throughout the entire night. Their stories to the matches were a little bit better, but the matches themselves were kind of not so good or I won't say not so good, but they're kind of just meh for the most part of the night. And also, Big Cass winning with that elbow, it just that just does not work. It does not work for me in any way. Having somebody go over with a jumping elbow like that, I know he has a better finisher, and I would like for him to use that more often in that case of everything. So let's see here as I'm gazing over my notes. For one thing, and I'm going to get into this now a little bit, but I'll talk more about the Money in the Bank qualifying matches here in a little bit. You know, it seemed like each match tonight, not every single match, but each match, and this happens a lot on Raw, like each match gets a commercial break. You have a commercial break in between matches. And I know you have so much time between segments before you have to go into commercial and everything, but seriously, you're breaking up a match almost every single match in the night. You're breaking the flow of people watching the match by having a commercial break in there. It's just, it's something that kind of, it's like a pet peeve. It annoys me a little bit inside of how they do things on Monday Night Raw. I wish you didn't see so many commercial breaks in between matches. Or not in between, but within the match themselves. I know they have to get their ad revenue out there and everything like that, but you can get the same amount of commercial breaks without breaking up the matches as much as you do. And that's just kind of the one thing I would like for. Baron Corbin also had a promo backstage talking about how he won his no disqualification match, and they're trying to pass him off as like this dastardly thing, even though he gave a low blow in a no disqualification match. And he does the basic fares, like couldn't care less what you think. I'm here to win, blah 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 blah. Dolph Ziggler comes in, challenges him to like a more technical match. So I guess like actual wrestling style, like Greco-Roman wrestling style for the next week, and they make it for the next week because Dolph Ziggler is inside one of the Money in the Bank qualifier matches within the show as well. And now this is let's see. Again, I'm just gazing over my notes to make sure I get about everything here on Raw that was on Raw, because 3-hour shows, sometimes you forget things, like I did at the pay-per-view at the end of the night. We completely forgot about one of the matches on the show. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, because this is a small snippet and it'll be really quick, the Bob Backlund, Darren Young segments, I actually find them kind of entertaining. Just the whole aspect of Darren Young Darren Young in this new day and age, people like taking notes or using their phone for about everything, and Bob Backlund being in this very old school, you don't take notes, you just have it in memory. You do, instead of using your phone, you have a watch, and you have all these different things to do, the one thing that is supposed to do, instead of having one thing do everything. I actually kind of like these segments, especially where it's like, like Bob Backlund is like, recite all the presidents in order. And then Darren goes, I don't think anyone can do that. And then he just starts babbling off, and like Darren's like, and then he gets on Darren Young for using damn and bad language and everything like that. I like that dynamic of a more old school style person, like they're trying to go keep their ways intact, with a new school, with like a new schooler or a younger person in there. It just works. This one just works. I'm actually kind of entertained by these segments. I don't know how it'll come off an in-ring side in there, but I think that segment was actually kind of funny. Just right off the top of my head there, I had to say it was actually kind of funny. So going for a segment that seems like it's working to a gimmick that isn't, it's not going to work. I wish it would, because I know Epico and Primo are very, very good in the ring. They just don't have a personality to like pull off this Rising Stars thing, where they're like tourists, not tourists, but they're like these travel agents almost. It's just, I'm not feeling it right now. I'm hoping that changes over the next couple weeks, but their promo right before the main event tonight was like, huh? Okay. I feel like I'm just getting sold on something. They're trying to sell me something, and it's just not working. So, before I get into the Money in the Bank qualifying match, because like I said, that was the main storyline of the night, I wanted to talk about how they started off Raw and the few segments that they had, for the entire night. One being the beginning of Raw, starting off with Seth Rollins. Best way of going, because that's how you finished off the pay-per-view before. So you should start it with the guy who finished the last pay-per-view, finished the pay-per-view itself. So Seth Rollins comes out, starts cutting the promo. Like, fans can't stop cheering him and everything like that. So what does Seth do? Instead of trying to play the babyface, he goes straight back into heel mode. And it worked. It was great, because he was like, he talked about how everybody was against him and couldn't wait for somebody to beat him for the title whenever he was champion before. And then his knee injury happens, and it's like, oh, we miss you, Seth. Please get well soon. And like sending gifts and everything like that. So what does he do instead? Is like, no, I didn't open up one of them. Matter of fact, they took them all, put them in the garbage, and lit it on fire. And just like, heel heat. He's good. He's good at being a heel. And I feel like at some point in time he'll be good as a face as well, but he needs to play the heel here in some way, shape, or form. He gets interrupted by Roman Reigns. Obviously, they just kind of, like, Seth Rollins just kind of leaves like he had normally done before in the past. Shane McMahon comes out and makes the match between the two of them at Money in the Bank. No interaction outside of that, really, between the two of them. Probably the best segment of this, outside the fact that they're making the match with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, they're starting, well, not necessarily starting, they're bringing back the feud, because this was a feud that was going on when Seth got injured. Matter of fact, they've never technically had the pay-per-view one-on-one match, because each time they've wanted to have the pay-per-view one-on-one match, some kind of injury happened, like the hernia from Roman Reigns or the knee injury from Seth Rollins, so you never really got that at any given time. So, but the best segment of this of the night was Seth Rollins backstage. He's about to get interviewed and everything like that. He's going through his interview, hunky dory, and then he finds Steph. Shows up, and he tries to be the normal Seth Rollins around Stephanie McMahon, like wants to give her a hug and everything like that. It's like Stephanie's like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but things have changed. And basically saying it's like their business relationship is completely different than what it was before. It can't be the same way as it was when you got injured or anything like that. So they're saying, oh, I'm not going to be having your back or anything like that. You got to go out there on your own style. And just the dumb, like when she leaves, you have Seth like in that weird like, what's going on style face there. So it came off relatively good. I thought it was one of the better segments of the night with that interaction between Seth Rollins and Stephanie McMahon. And honestly, with Shane and Stephanie, those are the only times you really saw them throughout the night. You didn't see them all that much. And that's honestly a good thing, because you didn't see them the night before. You only saw them in like a segment or two here. And they weren't overexposed in there. And same with the Rollins Reigns storyline. It wasn't overexposed yet. They've got a full. They've got not only do they have the full month, but they have probably up till SummerSlam to fully write out this story. You don't want to overexpose it right off the bat. So this brings me into the what I would consider the main storyline of the night. They announced before, like right after the first promo of the night, that there was going to be 5 qualifying matches for the for getting into the Money in the Bank ladder match. First of all, I like this. I like the fact that they have qualifying matches. It makes these matches far more important to go, and gives a sense of, okay, it just gives a sense of purpose to the matches that you're seeing throughout the night. So you had Sami Zayn versus Sheamus, which was an okay match. Like I said, most of these matches tonight were kind of, they're kind of meh. This was not a bad match with Sami Zayn going over with a Helluva Kick. Now, the best part about this one, so Sami Zayn qualifies in with that one. So the best part about this one, you can see Sheamus getting extremely frustrated. And, you know, you had like them talking about Sami Zayn being a new era guy. So you have Apollo Crews, who's backstage about to give an interview, and he gets attacked by Sheamus. After he says, oh, it's like, yeah, I'm part of the new era and everything, and then gets attacked. So it seems like Sheamus is going after all these new era guys. And is going to be going after the new era guys now. That's going to be like his new story or his new gimmick. So probably him and Apollo for the time being. And that could be interesting. That could be interesting because they were playing that a little bit down in NXT with Baron Corbin going after all the independent guys. Now they're kind of doing it up here with one of the established veterans going after some of the new era guys. So this could be interesting. We'll see how everything goes off here. The only thing that I had an issue with Apollo Crews on this one, with his, well, outside of the fact that towards the end of his match with Chris Jericho, it was a bit sloppy. The match was alright. It wasn't anything horrible by any stretch of the imagination. But the biggest problem I had with Apollo Crews is, like, he came out there still smiling and kind of jumping around normally, and he just got attacked a half an hour ago. Where's the selling? I feel like he should be selling that attack a little bit more. Maybe walking to the ring in a less, jovial fashion and with maybe less of a smile. It just cries like, oh yeah, I got attacked backstage. Yeah, that was for that segment. We're fine. We're good. No, that was just kind of a mistake there on his part. I wish he would have sold that a little bit better. Same with Dean Ambrose, honestly. I wish he would have sold the cage match from the night before better. Jericho sold the crap out of it. Like, because you had a spot during his match with Apollo Crews where Apollo Crews would like punch both the arms and punches back, and like Jericho just selling the crap out of it. Of what had happened with the thumbtack spot from the night before. And like Dean Ambrose, like the way Dean Ambrose walked out that night, you would have wished he would have walked out of that match, or walked out there with, kind of selling the fact of that cage match just a little bit more, because it was a pretty hard-hitting match from everything I had watched from the night before. Dean Ambrose's match with Dolph Ziggler, was again okay. They kind of started out slow. It picked up a bit towards the end. It was an okay match, and of course they had Dean Ambrose going over. And I see exactly where they're going with the Money in the Bank match, at least now, with everything. And I'll get into that a little bit more. Like, you had Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho, so you have one feud already there. So up next they have, or actually this was before those two matches, but you also had Cesaro and Miz. Inside of there, they were having a Money in the Bank qualifying match. This was a really good match, and I absolutely loved the selling of Miz going after the shoulder, and just the selling that Cesaro did. Like, it affected him in many ways. Like, he was still able to get the neutralizer up, but he wasn't able to get many revolutions in the giant swing like he would normally do. Like, you could tell the shoulder was affecting him in his match in some way, though he was still able to pull out the victory over the Miz inside of there. So I thought that was really good. They do announce a Intercontinental title match with Cesaro and Miz, because Cesaro did beat Miz, so now he also gets an Intercontinental title match to go along with the fact that he's now in the Money in the Bank match. So I believe that's Is that all 4? Is that 4? Let me look again. I don't think that's 4. Zayn, Cesaro, Ambrose, and Jericho. Oh yeah, that was 4. So this brings me into what was the main event of the night. And also the main event match, which was a Money in the Bank qualifying match, which was AJ Styles and Kevin Owens. First of all, AJ Styles comes out there and starts cutting a promo talking about, like, if no one would have interfered, he would have won the title, blah, 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 blah. And you're saying it's like, that's in the past, now I gotta look to the future. It's like, whatever on that one. So basically also blaming Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows for his loss. So this eventually brings them brings them both out there, and they just kind of go back and forth on each other to the point that it's like AJ's like, yeah, we just want to. It's like professionally, I just want to break up. But it's like our friendship should not be broken up because it's like no. And then Gallows and Anderson, no business. We don't have your back anymore. We're not friends with you anymore. We're out. So they break up the club. So we'll see where they go, or the club in the sense of between AJ and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. So we'll see where they go with that. That one kind of came out of left field with that promo because they hadn't been building any real tension between AJ Styles and Gallows and Anderson at all. They had built no tension there, and now they done. We're done. We're out. No more. A bit interesting, okay segment, but like I said, a little bit out of left field on the aspect that it's like, what? This makes no sense that this is happening. This is like Dana Brooke interfering the night before. This makes no sense. Well, I guess this is where they're going. So we'll see where they go with it and see if they can rebound from that, because this was kind of out of left field type of style. And then you go off of the aspect that you have the AJ Styles Kevin Owens match, and they just kind of semi-cut a scathing promo on each other, or at least Gallows and Anderson cut one on AJ Styles, and then they don't interfere in the match. It's just a straight match. Now, here's the good thing though: the match between AJ Styles and sorry, I keep clearing my throat because I don't know, I just got something caught in my throat right now. But the match between Kevin Owens and AJ Styles was really, really good. This is like the good match of the night. Maybe based off of comparison because of based off the comparison of like all the other matches of the night were kind of meh at best. That this one turned out to be looked even better in comparison on that one. But I felt like the AJ Styles Kevin Owens match was pretty good. Probably a little bit of a slow start, but got built up towards the end there and everything. But they have Kevin Owens go over clean, so maybe they're gonna have this feeling of AJ Styles going on a losing streak, and then maybe figuring that he needs to have the club around or something like that. I mean, we'll see where that storyline goes. In every sense of the word, we'll see where everything goes with all of that. But overall, Raw wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't great either. Like, they gave purpose to most of the matches of the night, giving them the Money in the Bank qualifying matches and the Money in the Bank ladder match. You have Seth Rollins coming out there and re-solidifying himself as a heel in every sense of the word. And of course, them setting up the match with him and Roman Reigns at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which will probably be the first of at least 2 or 3 matches between them in some way. You have the club breakup, which was kind of out of left field, and not sure why they did it on this night and not try to build a little bit more tension between them. But outside the fact that they don't explain Dana Brooke either, in any way, shape, or form. The interaction between Ric Flair and Charlotte tonight I thought was really good, and this was a good way of getting Ric Flair out of the way inside of there, and kind of writing him off of being around his daughter for being in her corner at all times. So I kind of like that, and it like puts massive heel heat on Charlotte for doing that. So like I said, not a horrible Raw. Not a great Raw. But kind of good. And like I said, matches had purpose behind them outside of a couple of them, which is always a good thing. When a match has a purpose behind it, it makes it at least a little bit better in that sense. At least that's my own opinion on everything. So that is my review for Monday Night Raw this week. And again, I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a great evening.